Hello, I am Shaking Gaming. I have decided to challenge myself a bit by ordering new parts for a PC I'm going to try and assemble. This wouldn't be a challenge for me a few years back, but in the meantime I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, so it might be a challenge to me. But I decided to try and see if I could because, well, for first, it's good sport, and second, I have a hard time finding the right specs and case and graphics card and everything that I really want because I have certain specifications that I would like to have in a computer and I cannot just find that pre-assembled in a store anywhere. So I've gone ahead and ordered all the pieces and we'll have to see if I'm actually able to put it together, or I'll have to call a friend or two to see if they can help me with the tiny bits. It's a great and exciting day. I finally received my new PC, which I'm going to challenge myself on seeing if I can assemble, given my situation with a bit of shaking and numb hands. But I received everything today. So I've got the motherboard, which makes me a bit nervous if I'm capable of doing this because it's a micro ATX motherboard. Power supply, GTX 1660 Ti. It's a bit of a budget card, but I think that will fit me fine in my current situation. Fractal design, Define Mini C, CPU cooler, and the Core i5. Apparently this has got to be my SSD M2 drive. It doesn't say anything on the packet, but should be. Well, I'm going to unwrap a few of these things and I'll return back. Everything is unpacked, so we can take a look at my ASRock C390 Micro ATX Pro and the more than tiny SSD drive M2 going into one of these slots. Where's the other one? M2 Ultra, M2 Wi-Fi. Oh, there's only one on the micro one. No, there it is. The case itself, haven't really opened it yet. Processor. The graphics card. Maybe I should just remove before gaming, it says. Voila. Before gaming removed. And finally the heatsink for the processor. And oh, that's interesting. The fan. Now just to see if I can put it together. CPU in place. Looks good enough. There we go. No. I need 2 hands for this. There we go. CPU in place. Realizing I couldn't install the 2 RAM blocks anyway without using both hands, I cheated a bit and installed them here. Next part will be the AI shield, what is it? IO shield it's called, and preparing the case a bit, getting the PSU in. So before starting fully on the motherboard, I decided I wanted to see what the case looked like inside, but it turns out that the finger screws from the factory side isn't really finger screws yet, at least. I brought a screwdriver and let's see if I can unscrew them now, because they're more than tight. Yeah, success. Perhaps now they'll become finger screws. Pre-installed with 2 cabinet fans, case fans. A lot of wire management holes. There's dust filter in the front, also in the top. This part comes off if need be, and the power supply is in this section. It's a bit cramped, but the power supply is in there. Reason for it being a bit cramped is the hard disk drive area in here, which I have opted to use. So I have bought a 4 terabyte hard disk going in there, so I cannot remove that, sadly. Will make me struggle a bit with all the wires, even it's a modular power supply. My real fear though is these tiny wires going to the front of the case, but those will have to wait until later. So, after some work, I got the motherboard installed. The washers was a bit annoying, but they got in. I got the CPU cooler on, just need a fan next. The IO shield and the power supply is also installed. So now it's on to wiring, the absolutely worst part. So everything assembled, I think. I'm not 100% sure yet. Took some time. Only part that's left is cable management. If I just turn it around. then it's still quite messy right back here. But I think I might turn it on to see if it works before messing with the cables and closing the cabinet, the case. The computer is assembled. Everything looks good, I think. Plugged in all the wires as they should be. I hope I haven't forgotten anything or wired anything wrong. I was ready to turn on the computer, plugging in the power supply, when suddenly I discovered the connections on the graphics card. I didn't have any of those cables, so I had to delay a day. Now I bought a new cable, so now I'm ready to plug it in, finally. Okay, I'll just test if every fan is turning and the proper lights are coming on when turning it on before plugging it into the monitor. Let's see what happens. There's power on. There's absolutely no lights. Okay. Looks good. Fans turning the right way around. RGB in the graphics card, that will be turned off when I get it up and running. Looks like everything's working. And now the fan stopped in the graphics card, showing that it runs properly. I think also the power supply is still running, but it should stop soon. Right. Ready to close the case and connect it to the screen. Looks like I was able to pull it off. Everything is working. It's nicely silent. I can barely hear it over the fridge in the background. Definitely not an easy task for me, but I managed. Sadly, I had to cut out a lot of the parts where I was having trouble assembling parts due to shaking or tremors. It just got too boring to watch, really. So if you had looked forward to that, I'm sorry I had to disappoint you. But I'm happy I managed to put it together and everything is working. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.